and welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your host, Daniel.
And Daniel.
Daniel, nice booming announcer voice right there. That was good. That was good. You almost had like a Johnny, and your host. That was good. I liked it. See, now you're getting into it. I guess it must be the holiday season. Have you heard any holiday music yet?
Yes, but not on purpose.
No, well, who would voluntarily do it right now?
I mean, I used to listen to it like starting in November because my dad would like once Halloween was over, Christmas started for him. I mean, they'll do Thanksgiving and stuff like that, but he was a huge Christmas guy. So.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
And he listened to it a lot of times. But I was watching something like on Facebook or something like that. I follow these football players, Jason and Travis Kelce. They're real big right now because one of them is dating Taylor Swift. But I was following them beforehand because last year was the Kelce Bowl. They was the brothers facing each other.
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
Super Bowl.
Uh-huh. I heard
and so
that.
I was watching like their podcast and stuff like that, and I actually really enjoy them. They have a good camaraderie. I like Jason Kelce a lot. He's a O-lineman, so he's gruff and he's funny. Like he's got like that dry wit that I like. And so I've been following them, and apparently, and I just saw a thing about it, the Eagles offensive line and just the Eagles team made a Christmas album. And so I just got a preview of it, and shockingly enough, they have a New Zealand or Australian rugby player playing offensive line. He's like 6'9", 300 and some odd pounds. He's one of their offensive linemen. He's got a voice of an angel. Kind of reminds me, not the voice-wise, but the fact that you don't expect that voice coming out of him. Like, what is his name? The Somewhere Over the Rainbow Hawaiian guy.
Yeah.
Isaac or Isaiah or something like that.
Izzy,
yeah.
Yeah, Izzy.
It's like that voice coming from that guy.
Yeah.
You don't expect it. And this, like I said, this dude is a 6'9" offensive lineman who used to play rugby, and he's got a beautiful voice. Like they were doing the video I saw. He was doing the Mariah Carey song. And he was hitting the notes pretty darn well. Like it wasn't bad at all. I have to show it to you off camera.
So I've actually decided this year I'm going to count how many times I hear that song, just out of my own curiosity. I'm already at one.
Oh jeez.
And I don't seek it.
Mind you, I haven't really been out of the house since November, since after Halloween. That's usually when the Christmas starts running. I went to a doctor's appointment on Monday, and that's all I've really done. Because, I mean, mind you, what is it? The day it started like what, last week?
Yeah.
So
yeah, we're only in the 7th of November.
Yeah, I had a doctor's appointment. When we went shopping, surprisingly, I didn't hear it. So
yeah, I heard some Christmas music, but I didn't hear the song.
The song. Have you? How's your Whamageddon going so far?
My Whamageddon?
Yeah, you don't play Whamageddon?
No.
You want to try to see how long you can last before you can hear
I've heard of this.
Wham's Last Christmas.
See, like, I always hear Mariah Carey way before Wham.
Yeah, no, exactly. But
how does that one go?
I'm not singing it because I don't want to get Whamageddon. No, but
can you play it for me so I know?
When it happened to me last year, I lost it in frickin' August because I was watching like I don't know what TV show I was watching. But I was binging something, and it was a Christmas episode, and they played that song, and I'm like, God, it's August!
You already lost. You lost long before people even considered it.
So far, I've been good. I haven't listened to it yet. I haven't heard it yet. So
no.
I made it to November, so I consider that a success, because in 2020, I was watching, I think it was like 2021, 2022, I was watching Ted Lasso, and I heard it pretty darn early. So I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
That's hilarious. Yeah, no, I'll start listening for it now. I would like seeing if I hear it, but I bet you I'll at least hear like the Mariah Carey song a dozen times before Wham.
Man, I was hearing the Mariah Carey song because they were making memes about it on like TikTok and stuff like that.
Yeah. It was on Jimmy Fallon that I heard it. That was the whole premise of the joke. All right, guys, and it's midnight on Halloween, and here we go, play the song.
Exactly.
As I roll it, like play it on the
roll Mariah Carey.
That's right.
All right, but with that being said, man, we've been going what 5 minutes already.
Oh, I don't know.
Just talking about Christmas
well,
stuff.
maybe.
You know, look at the recording number. It's 5 minutes.
Well, you know, when we're having fun, time just flies on by. You know.
Yeah, but we're talking about Christmas stuff.
True.
And we're doing Thanksgiving episodes.
That's right. So let's get into it then. Yeah, speaking of Thanksgiving episodes, this will be a fun one.
Yeah.
Our whole premise this episode is quite simple. Since this is now starting to get into the holiday season, we like to give you a valuable resource. Since you're going to be spending a lot of time with your non-gamer, probably family, friends, people who just don't quite yet understand or know the hobby that we are into.
Or you don't want to listen to the weird uncle, so you gather your cousins and go play a game.
Exactly. We're talking about games that you can play with non-gamers. We have some great recommendations that we're going to be telling you. Or really, this episode should be, instead of games to play with non-gamers, games to avoid uncle, whatever. Like Twilight Imperium, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And Mario Fanatics, absolutely. I can't imagine the single person who wouldn't run for the hills after maybe hour 5. Maybe.
Yeah. No, I do like Twilight Imperium, though. That is a fun game.
I'm still one of the few in our group.
You're the only one in our group.
Just saying. Just saying.
Well,
sir.
we need to do like an all-day gaming. We were supposed to do it. We were supposed to go to like the cabin or something like that, and never ended up doing that.
Never did it. Oh, maybe we'll just rent one. Let's just rent one day. Yeah, why not?
So, but
I'm
yeah,
not spending a lot on hotels anyway, so it's fine.
The thing is, games to play for with non-gamers.
Yep.
Is our topic here. But I'm looking forward to this one because again, here in America, it is Thanksgiving time. We're filming this on the 7th of November, which means Thanksgiving's, 17 days away? I think it's on the 24th this year. So
it's on the 4th
it's on the 4th Thursday every year.
4th Thursday every
which
year.
is the 24th this year,
Yes.
so it's 14 days, or 17 days away.
Yep.
So less than 3 weeks for us for this holiday.
Yep.
And so last week we did something funny because you got to feed the people for most
Uwe
Rosenberg games.
Yeah. And then next week, stick around because I'm looking up at this new edition, by the way, the schedule. We'll be talking about big potato games, so we'll be looking.
And then, of course, just to keep up with the feed the people aspect of it, the board game brainstorm this year or this month is Agricola.
That's right. So stick tuned for that. We're going to be getting into this right now. Daniel, what have you been playing lately?
So there's a few games on here, and like I said, I'm going to do my last 2 things are going to be little cheaty aspects because it just deals with like a series of stuff. But the first game I want to talk about is the Halloween game we played on Day of the Dead. Finally was able to get a play of a game that's been on my shelf of shame for 6 years.
Finally off.
Finally off. It's right there.
Yeah, there we go.
And I really enjoyed it. I understand why a lot of people do like this. Mm-hmm. Of course, Fantasy Flight just doesn't know how to make a short game, and this game is Fury of Dracula.
No, they don't.
It's like I said, finally off the shelf of shame after 6 years or so, probably longer than that.
Yeah, probably.
I bought it when Fantasy Flight lost the license, which I think was like either 2015 or 2016. So it's about 7 years now that's been on my shelf of shame. Because it was on sale at Barnes & Noble's. I think I got it for like 30% off or something like that. So I was like, yoink, and it's going to go out of print. Did not know WizKids was immediately going to reprint the exact same game right away. Hey. We just knew that Fantasy Flight lost the license. So I like what it does. It's really cool. Our friend Dom kicked our butt because
it wasn't even close.
It wasn't. He played Dracula because none of us were like, wasn't really too interested to play Dracula. I mean, we were all interested, but I was giving the option for everybody just to do Dracula. And so no one was really up to doing it. So I was like, you know what? I'll randomize it in our app. Whoever gets selected as the first player becomes Dracula. Because this way, everybody, it's fair. Everybody gets a shot at it.
Yep.
He ended up picking it up, and both you and me, when that happened, we're like, we're losing.
Yep, we're done.
We're going to lose. And the thing I don't like is that you have to play with all the hunters. And so you have to play, since it was a 3-player game, you and me had to run 2 characters.
Right, which that was less of a problem.
Yes, because of how they did the way they work. because when you're the hunters, you get 2 actions a day. You get a day action and a night action.
Yep.
And you only do 1 action. And the only time you can actually move is during the day part of your action. So if you want to get somewhere and be like, where is Dracula at? Then you have to only move in the day. And then I love the way the train track system works. And the big part of it too is like, we don't want to prepare at night because he's going to get cards possibly.
Right.
So that's when we were doing our, I'm going to take a train ticket for my night action.
Almost always.
Always a train ticket, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was really fun. I really liked the characters that we played. We just got our butts handed to us because we didn't see a thing. And I mean, you saw like after the fact because that's how you used it. But we're like, okay, he's over here in like the UK. We're gonna go beeline. You went beeline into like Spain area to see if you went down that way, and then I beelined up to the northern part of the ports, thinking he's okay because we were thinking he was in the English Channel, but instead he went all the way to the North Sea. So by the time we figured out where he was, He wasn't. He had already ported and made it into Central Europe.
Yeah.
By the time we had all set ourselves up in the North Coast, I think I was in France, and Austria, or in that general area, and you were down up in the northern ports of Spain and Portugal. So we kind of had them all blocked off. And he threw storms out there, so we couldn't go into the sea to go try to find him.
Yeah,
in
he bluffed
UK.
us really well.
Yeah, he bluffed so well. It was so fun. I did enjoy it. It was a bit of a long game, but honestly, it's not something I'm going to play all the time. But if I want to play something that's going to take a few hours and gives you that good Halloween feel, yeah, I'm going to pick this one up. Or I'm going to play this one, put this on the table.
It's like, man, you've been renting it for 6 years?
Yeah, but so I will get it back to the table just because how much I really enjoyed it.
Good deal. Yeah, I mean, you obviously liked it more than I did.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't dislike it, but I did not like the going in circles for 3 hours straight and then just going, because even though we had 1 action per turn, then it's still slogged. That was my big problem. Is that it's like I can play plenty of games that are like there's some time in between turns, that's fine. But I mean after like when we found out that he was in Central Europe or Central Asia,
Europe, our whole thing was we're trying to figure out where he was.
Yeah, and then where it's like, wow, okay, that's pretty.
Once he got into the sea and then he got somewhere else, we're like, yeah, we lost. We're just trying to kind of figure out where he's going.
Right, we're no different than at the beginning of the game.
And the thing is, we got our most powerful cards in the very beginning of the game. That's how we were trying to figure that he went into the northern ports. Yeah. Because one of my cards was like, hey, find out what sea card he played. Like one of the sea cards he played. Okay, that's where we knew he was. But yeah, afterwards, that's just luck of the draw, in all honesty. Sure. If we got better event cards and stuff like that could be played, it would have been helpful. But we didn't get really good ones. When we were drawing from the bottom, because we just needed to get into those cycles, like 4 cards in a row went straight to him. So,
No kidding.
Yeah, we knew we were going to lose once he got Dracula, but it was still fun. I did enjoy it.
Cool. The first game I wanted to talk about was speaking of games with non-gamers. A couple Fridays ago, a friend of ours came over, a mutual friend of ours, and he brought with an old friend of his that was coming down here to visit. His friend lives up in Colorado now, and he came down, and I was like, so, what kind of games are you interested in? He was like, I'm just here. So that tells me non-gamer, right? Yep. Which is totally fine. So I was like, cool. Well, seemed like a cool dude. Let's find some games. And the first game we played was one that our mutual friend Jim just absolutely adores this game. Ever since we first played it, he just loves it. And it's called Dinosaur Tea Party.
Oh, I love that game.
Restoration games, yeah. And the rules actively encourage you to talk in a British accent. And so at one point, I tried to pull off a spit take with Jim, because we're playing. And I was like, at first I was like, well, we could talk in a generic British accent, like so, like rather proper, you know, in London. And then I went to Liverpoolian, and then I went on to like almost a Beatle or John Lennon, like not emphasizing the t or the d, you know. And then at one point he was taking a drink, and I was the new character. I said, "Oi, bro, ain't you scared, isn't it?" As violently loud and stereotypical as I could, and he just like almost like went into tears laughing. It was great. And like the game itself is fine.
Yeah,
it's a fine deduction.
It's a nice
game.
little filler deduction game.
But that over the top, like
yeah,
there's very few games that I like to role play to that level, and that one just makes the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, even if you can't do a British accent or a proper accent or whatever, making it sound Tea Party, just gun it in the worst way possible, and it's hilarious.
Yeah. I'm not big into role playing, but I could try to get to like a hoity-toity voice if I'm really, if I'm really working at it. But it's like
indubitably, or when they get something wrong, it's like, well, I never.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Just always pull that up. It works every time. Dinosaur Tea Party. That was the first one I wanted to talk
And again,
about
sorry for our headphones listeners because
I apologize. Kinda.
Kinda.
Hopefully that made some people do a spit take here.
Alright, so my next game here is another game we played that same night. It was a little quick card game. This one was called Sea Salt and Paper.
Oh, that's right. We did play another game.
Yeah, we played 2 games that night because we got Fury Dracula done within 3 hours.
Sure.
It was like 9:30 when we finished, so we could bust out a little card game. And we played Sea Salt and Paper. I was excited to play this one. I love the artwork in that game. It is interesting what they did because it's like they took pictures of origami.
Yeah,
and just
I think that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, and it's gorgeous. It's fun. It's different. You don't really see anything like that anywhere. And the thing about this one is, it's your main actions are, first off, you're drawing cards, either one off the 2 discard piles, or 2 off the top, and then you have to discard in one of the 2 discard piles. And if one of the discard piles is empty, you have to discard in the empty one. And then if you have duo cards, there are cards that kind of work together. So it's like crabs, boats. There was a swimmer and a shark that work together. And you need 2 of those. When you can play those, you put them down. They're going to be points for you at the end of the round. And then they also have different abilities. So one of them allowed you to take an immediate next turn. Another one allowed you to draw a card off a discard pile. So they had little cool powers. Another thing I liked about it too was the gambling point aspect. Now, we didn't really play on that aspect because it was more along the lines of, I'm just going to get my points. Because when you think you have 7 points, or you know you have 7 points, you can call the call it, and you could say, all right, that's it. Or there's another one, I think it's what it is one more round or something, one more term, something like that. There's 2 different terms for it. There's one that just stop is the first turn, and it's where everybody just scores the cards in their hands and the cards on their table. And so the cards work in different ways. So like you get a point, like if you have the mermaid, if you have 4 mermaids and you play it, you win the game immediately. And it's played 1 round per player, if I remember correctly, because we played 3 rounds. And we played as many rounds as until someone hit the threshold, which I think for 3 players was 35 points. So I think we ended up playing like 4 rounds or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, if you have the 4 mermaids, you automatically do it. But the way the mermaids are, they give you a point, and then you score one of your colors that you have the most of, and you get a point for all that. And so, yeah, it's just it's a really neat game. I liked it a lot. I'm like, this is gonna go into like my filler card games thing. It's like perfect how we played it too. It's the end of a night kind of game.
Yeah.
Just boom, boom, boom. After like a heavy, sloggish game, you can just play this and you're good.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great way to do it. So, Illuminous, welcome.
Welcome, Illuminous. And we're talking about, it just depends. I got some party games in here. I got some like quick games if you want to play with your cousin or something like that. It's mainly just because here in America, Thanksgiving's coming around. It's a holiday season. We got the other holidays coming up too, Christmas, New Year's, parties and stuff like that. So we just did like different types of games that you play with non-gamers, whether it's family members or you teach a lot of non-gamers at the shop. So just stuff like that.
People wander in.
Yep.
Got to do it. Always got Hive in your backpack. Good choice.
There you go. And so, so Sea Salt and Paper actually forced me to get a 3rd container because I put all my little card games in photo cases.
Yeah.
Because they're easier to take around and set up. And the thing is, I got a 3rd one, and then I got a label maker now, so they're all in alphabetical order.
That's pretty great. All right. And,
all I know is I never play games with my cousins.
I mean, please do tell us in the comments why.
And welcome, Makara.
Welcome. Pleasure. All right, and so the next game I wanted to talk about was that same game night. This was the 2nd game we played as a group. Same friend, he had a great time playing the overly British game.
Yeah.
Dinosaur Tea Party. We decided to play another, kind of like a speed party-esque kind of game.
Yeah.
And so we played Not So Fast by Smirk and Dagger, and which is an absolute riot. Like I pulled out the shelf and was like, yeah, it's been a while. Let's go ahead and try this one. And then explaining the rules, they're kind of looking at me like, huh? Like, okay, so you flip it over, it's either going to be a cashew, or there's going to be a walnut, or there's going to be pistachio. If it's any of those, if there's exactly 4 of them amongst 2 cards, then reach for it. Unless there's 2 pairs of 4, then instead get the almond. And if there's 7 of something, then get the almond instead of whatever they're. And I'm explaining this, and it's like all these are weird edge cases, and they're like, okay, all right, I'm curious, but. And at first, it always has a little bit of move. It's like, all right, but if a funny pose comes out or a nutty pose, you have to do the pose or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just watching people. It's like everyone's like immediately pull up their hands above their head, and then everyone like looks like you're the last one. You take the cards, and it's an absolute riot. That game never like fails to get people laughing. When nuts go flying everywhere and the wooden pieces get knocked off the table and cards are flying. Like, oh, then I was supposed to do the pose and they do something completely different. It's a riot. I can highly recommend that one, but
Nice.
that's just what we played, and it went over really well, and he decided to end the night on that night. So after 2 quick games, he was out for the night, and he seemed
Nice.
almost like out of breath because of how intense
Well,
that game is.
that game could.
Yeah.
I haven't played it. I've seen people play it.
It is my favorite nut-themed game by far. I own a few, but that is my favorite. The other one is Nuts, or Go Nuts. Go Nuts. It's a squirrel theme where you're trying to gather nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one's pretty fun. But yeah, there you go. That was my number 2.
All right, so the next game I'm going to play about, and this is one of the first ones I told you that is going to be a bit cheaty. And it's because I am putting Deckscape. I played the 3 copies of Deckscape that I own.
Okay.
I played...
I'm really curious about your thoughts on these.
Curse of the Sphinx,
Okay.
Dracula's Castle, and The Fate of London. So I played 3 of them, kind of back to back. I played 2 on one day and 1 on the next day.
Okay.
Just to get some games done on the weekend. I kind of wanted to
Sure.
get them played.
Was it just you?
Yeah, it was just me solo-wise.
Okay.
The wife was playing in her garden, so I'm like, I'm just sitting here doing nothing. I'll just bust these out. So the one I am picking is like the Dracula's Curse. That was the first one I played.
Okay.
Honestly, I see why you're not a huge fan of them.
Okay.
They were just okay. The puzzles were fine. Some of them were really neat, what they were doing. But you're just constantly moving, so there's no...
Right. There's no penalty.
Yeah.
per
Well,
se.
and there is penalties because you have the box
sure.
and stuff like that. But it's always going to end. And the ones I played, there was good endings and there was bad endings, so there was that aspect of it as well. But like I said, the puzzles are okay. There's some really good ones like in Unlocked, and there's some really neat ones in Exit. These ones are just kind of more riddles, or did you take a good look at the card and what was different? Like one of them was asking me about footprints in the sand or something like that, and I'm like, oh, okay, that was a few cards ago, and so I am trying to pay as much attention as I can with these cards, but yeah, it was fine. It's just, it wasn't intriguing. Like when I play something like Unlocked, it kind of sucks me in, especially because that app gives you some noise in the background, and then you also have Exit, where you have some really neat puzzles and you're destroying things to make the puzzles work. Like the advent calendar was really neat when every time you pull something out, you had to use it in that puzzle aspect of it.
Yep.
So I really was okay with it. I probably won't pick myself up other copies of Deckscape unless they're like Dracula's Castle was like $5. I was like, okay, I'll try it for $5, but their normal price is like $15-$20. Yeah, I probably would not pick it up for a full price.
Somewhere around 12 15.
But honestly, out of all the ones I've played, Deckscape is probably not my go-to.
Yeah, that's why I was curious to hear your thoughts, because was these the first time you did that Deckscape?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I had done a couple before, and it's that same... It's like, imagine you go into an escape room, and you're doing an actual escape room, right? And they're like, all right, you need to unlock this door to get into the next room. And they're like, answer a multiple choice question. And you're like, C. Like, wrong, but you can still enter.
Yeah.
It's like... I mean, and granted, the way that they approach it, there's not too much other options, but both Exit and Unlock offer options to not let you proceed.
And it just gives you they'll give you penalties if you do something bad.
Yeah.
And so then you have to figure out what else you're gonna do.
Exactly.
This one, there was just like, it was no penalty. You just keep moving. There was one that I actually kind of enjoyed, the Curse of the Sphinx, because there was a bit of a timer on that one. Because there was something that every time you did something wrong, you had to flip a card, and then there was a bad thing on there, so you had to do certain things. I don't want to give spoilers for people who want to play it.
Yeah.
But
Right.
that was the only cool thing aspect of it. But even then, some of the puzzles were really easy, so nothing like that happened. So.
Yeah. No. I unfortunately, and I like a lot of things what that company does. I think it's DV Gochi or something.
Yeah, DV Gochi. Yeah.
Yeah, I like a lot of stuff that they do, but it's just the deckscapes are just underwhelming for me. Although I will say, looking over at the conversation between Illuminous and Malkara, sorry, we didn't mean to ignore you. I just didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah.
Actually, so spoilers on my list. I will be honest. Out of my 8, I did not pick Munchkin. Although I did definitely consider it because
I did consider Munchkin.
I consider Munchkin more of a gateway game, not something I can just play with like family member that is never going to get into games.
And also to Illuminous's point, yes, it can be long, but there's a rule where you start at the 5th level.
Yep.
And it makes it quicker.
5th level. It ramps it up. That's 2/3 of the game right
there. Yeah, and so, yeah, I agree. Munchkin was on my short list, and the reason why it didn't make my list is just I remembered that it was one of the games that actually got me into gaming. So
it's a great game.
But I was going along this list because I was thinking about Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I am not going to pull Munchkin out with my grandma at the table.
No. Nope. and I've tried teaching my mother how to play Munchkin because my son loves it. And it's a minimum 3 players, so I'll play it with him. He'll play it, but nobody else will. Yeah, and so
I will say this,
but I do agree that is a good choice.
Yes, I will say that about Munchkin. My favorite is Legends. It's still my favorite.
Yeah.
After all the other Munchkins I have played, because I played the Marvel one, I played the X-Men one.
Legends is great.
Legends is my favorite.
Have I talked about this one yet? Number 1.
Yes, last week.
Okay, so I'm gonna bring it up real quick because it has been on my played recently game. Because I have a fun story about it. Sky Team is a brilliant 2-player game that I've been playing recently, and I've been playing it with my son quite often. But most recently, a few days ago, sometime last week, I brought it home, and my son talked about it a little bit, and he brought it up. And we told my wife about it, and she was like, okay, that actually sounds kind of interesting. Which lately she's been on a kick of just, I never want to play games again kind of style. And so I was like, you know what, I do think you would probably dig this. It's a 2-player cooperative game with limited communication. Landing a plane. It's an interesting theme. She's like, okay, I'll give it a try. And the only reason we didn't finish the game, and I don't have it in my playlist, is because we did sit down, and we played a few turns, but she was having terrible stomach problems. She's lactose intolerant, and we had a bowl of cheese for lunch, basically. Long story short, in a nutshell, right? And so we played it the first couple turns, and she was like, I'm sorry, I gotta go. And then I had to go to my demo shop. So this was on Saturday. And she was like, and she texted me like a few minutes later, she was like, I'm really sorry I couldn't finish the game. I was actually really enjoying it. I'm like, wait, did I just introduce her to a new game?
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah. She was like, that was really neat how that was working. I'm like, I know, right? It really is. I'm so excited. So yeah, anyway, I just want to bring that up. That's what I've been playing lately as well. Sky Team. Oh my god, that's such a good game. I'll bring it and show you sometime.
Okay,
I think you'll really dig it.
The mistake was legendary.
That's right.
Oh god. All right, so the last game here I'm going to talk about, and it is another one of the cheaty aspects of it because I played this is not really a series of games.
Okay.
I am going to mention the one that I want to talk about because I haven't mentioned it in the podcast because it's the first time I ever played it. But I played Marvel's Champions, and I started a campaign with that. I started the Red Skull campaign.
Okay.
It's like, I've been wanting to play it again. I haven't played it this year. Let me bust it out. And I was playing with Captain America and Wolverine because they're going up against Hydra. Sure. I thought, okay, that's fun. So I played that. I'm like, all right, this is really good. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to bust out Arkham Horror LCG. I want to play this one again. I just restarted the campaign because I got that big box. I'm like, let me just, because it's been a while, let me play it. Let me start the cycles again. And I'm like, oh my god, because like Marvel Champions kind of jumped up on me over Arkham Horror LCG because it's been so long since I played it.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm sitting there thinking, I think LCG is or Arkham Horror is going to move back up because I just love the way that one worked. And I'm like, all right, cool. Well, I just recently bought on Nerds Day another LCG from Fantasy Flight, the revised core set, and this is my actual one I'm going to talk about. Lord of the Rings, the card game.
Ooh, okay.
And I played this one, and it's a little more convoluted than the other two. Like when you have Marvel Champions,
Really?
You do your turn, and you play your cards out. You pay for your cards with your other or cards in your hands,
Mm-hmm.
and then you tap them or exhaust them to fight the monsters, and then the bad guys will do their turn, and they have like different things you're doing. Honestly, Marvel Champions, when you're playing with a low player count, like 1 to 2 people, and you even admit this, when you played it at 2 people, you liked it better.
Yes.
You don't.
I chuckle because I disliked it less.
Yes. Yes.
No, it wasn't bad. It's just it didn't. It still didn't wow me, even
yeah,
as
but still, it was quicker, snappier turns when you're playing it as one player.
It was more tolerable for sure.
Yes, when you're playing 4 players, I wouldn't recommend it. And same thing with Arkham Horror. But it's very simple to play. You use your cards to either put down, and you pay for it with your cards in your hand. You use your abilities to either do this or that to the bad guy. It's straightforward compared to some other card games. Arkham Horror LCG does a lot of the same things, except for you're using your cards to boost your skill checks. And the way you do Lord of the Rings, every round consists of 7 steps, and you have to do it in that order every time you do it. With Arkham Horror, I get my resources, I do the Mythos phase, the bad things happen at the very start of the round except for the first round.
Sure.
Then you do your player turn, you get 3 actions. Then you get your, if there's monsters out there, they attack you.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you're done with that, it's clean up, you move into the next round, Mythos phase starts, you do your actions again. Very quick, you gain your resources, you draw your cards, you use your resources to pay for your cards out on the table. So it's really, really simple with that kind of stuff. This one, you gain your resources, you have 3 heroes in front of you that whole time. You always have 3 heroes. And you pay resources to put cards out. A lot of them are allies, or you could do attachments and stuff like that. Then you have to choose, the next stage is you have to choose if someone's going to go on a quest. So there's 3 things you got to worry about. You got your questing, you got your attack, and you got your defenses. Okay, I'm going to send these characters to quest because they can give me quest points. Well, then you have to pull cards off the top of the bad deck, and they will add to the success or failure or stuff like that. But they go in a staging area, so that's only you check the staging area if you're going to see if you're going to pass or fail a check. Once that's done, okay, I sent all these to quest. All right, and there we go. Now, if there's a bad guy in the staging area, or after that, you could choose to go to a location and make it active, which means you pull the location off the staging area and bring it down to the thing. And when you quest, you can choose to quest on your actual quest to help move the chapter along, or quest to get rid of the location. This way you can pull a second location down later on. And then you have your attack. So if there's a monster over there, you can engage with the monster. Or you could choose not to do it, and the monster's going to engage with somebody. And then you go into the attack phase.
Dude, okay. Alright, just make it stop.
Then you go into the attack phase.
I'll never troll you again, I'm sorry.
And then the monster will attack first, and he gets a boost card. Now you got to defend. If he's in your tableau, who you're going to defend with. Because remember, every time you do something, if you're going to quest, you tap your character or you exhaust your character,
sure.
They're going to do the questing. You can't use them in this round. So if you're going to attack the guy, then you have to exhaust your character for defense. Sometimes that's good if you got a character that retaliates, which means they'll do damage. And then you got to do like the success or unsuccess, depending on like how much damage the monster is doing to your defender. And then that defender takes damage. And then after that, and no, you're still in the combat phase because that was the monster's attack. He gets a shadow card that can boost his attack. After that's said and done, then you could choose to use your characters to attack the monster, and you do the same thing. If you defeat the monster, he goes away. And you do that every single time, and then you go into a cleanup phase, and then you start it all over again. It is, my God, the most convoluted living card game I have ever played. I do not know if it's going to stay in my collection, because I'm like, Arkham Horror LCG, very snappy turns. Marvel Champions, very snappy turns. This thing took me like 15 minutes to go to the first round because I had to keep going back and forth to review how it's said and done. My God. I'm going to try the campaign to see if it gets any better, but my God, this is the revised core set, so these are the cleaner rule sets. I don't know if I'm going to keep this one just because the other two play so much better. But yeah, that is Lord of the Rings, the card game, the revised core.
Oh, sorry. Ooh, I went into a coma for a moment there.
Yes, but does it not sound convoluted?
Dude, I checked out an hour ago. I played like one of those games, like Lord of the Rings, like some kind of one of those card games, like back in the day.
Yeah.
But
it's 7 phases just for a round. And then each of those phases has like this mini thing, like the location thing and the staging thing and the questing thing.
A lot of that would have just been so much better digital. Like where all of that upkeep.
And we have it digitally. I probably would rather do it on digital than keeping the physical game. But I was like, hey, it was like $20 on Nerds Day. I'll try it out because I like the other two LCG games.
Yeah.
I love Lord of the Rings. Honestly, I'd rather play that big box Lord of the Rings that's based off Mansions of Madness than this one again.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Alright, let's see what the audience played. Arkham Horror with 16 players. That is obscene. Yeah, but the age does show, unfortunately. Not a game for non-gamers. Yeah, probably not. And just get Lord of the Rings, the card game. I've heard actually good things about that one.
Yeah, I have heard really good things about that one. I do want to try that one, but it's just... Like I said, I like the other LCGs. This is the revised set. That's the thing. This is like the new one that they fixed the rules on. Yeah, and I'm like...
Well, it's probably more balanced, but it doesn't mean that there's less upkeep, right?
And then, like I said, and the thing about it with that one too is that you can do the deck building and you can choose your heroes. I just did the basics ones where like all my heroes were like in the inspiration deck. This way, because when you do your own deck building, if you get a card, you have to make sure the resources you're paying from come from the proper person. And I'm like, I'm not dealing with this. And the thing is, you only get 3 resources a turn because you get 1 for each hero you have in front of you. And if one of your heroes die, you only get 2 resources now. And some of these cards, one of the cards I had was 6 resources. Yeah, it's not really revised. It's more of a reprint. It's just, honestly, I'd rather keep the other 2 and just sell that one. Honestly.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're already convinced.
I want to try the part of the campaign aspect of it just to see if it gets it any better. But just how convoluted that first play was. Like I said, it took me 15 minutes to play 1 round.
Yeah.
It took me 15 minutes to get halfway through Arkham Horror LCG. Because once I remembered, I'm like, boom, 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 boom. Real snappy. Like, the first time I ever played the Arkham Horror LCG, my first turn did not take me 15 minutes. It took me like 5 just because I was reading through the rule book as I'm playing.
Sure.
This one took me 15 minutes because I had to read each phase to figure out what the hell are you talking about here.
Yeah.
Because you have the... Oh, and there's no player reference cards. Like,
Shame.
Arkham Horror LCG, Marvel Champions give you reference cards, how the actions turn. This doesn't. You have to read the back of the rule book, and then it just gives you the slight reference.
Well, they couldn't print enough on the card.
Yes.
That'd have to be like a 0.3 font.
Yeah,
of course.
Oh, man, it sucked. I mean, I don't know. I may sell the copy to like a friend or something like that if he wants to pick up a second.
Why would you wish that upon? No, I'm just kidding.
Our mutual friend Dom likes to pick up extra copies for like family members or something like that if they like it. I'm like, hey, there's one coming up right here if you want to do it.
Exactly.
What was your last game?
The last game I wanted to talk about, I think I actually played it in quicker than the 1 round of No, actually, so this was a fun little game. It's a new game called Forever Home.
Oh, okay. The one from the people of Birdwood Games, I think is what they're called?
Yeah, Birdwood, Birdhouse, something like that. Yeah. The makers of Dog Park.
Yeah, Birdwood.
Yeah. And the way that this game works is pretty interesting. It is a 1 to 5 player kind of like logistics puzzle, right? What you're trying to do is you're trying to get different dog breeds into your into your training area, your training yard.
Mm-hmm.
It's I think, a 6x6 grid that you can put them in. And then you're getting training cards where you have to put them in certain orders, which I guess represent like them, like interacting in certain ways or doing different tricks, whatever. But like for example, let's say you have two light colored, two dark colored. That means two dogs of one color, two dogs of a second color paired up, one above the other, and you can flip and mirror and rotate however you want, but as long as they're in that pattern.
Yeah.
Then what makes this interesting is that once you complete a training card, it's worth anywhere from like up to a few points, somewhere worth 0 points, and then when you play it, you have to rehome a number of those dogs. So, for example, if that needs 4 dogs, I might get 2 points out of it, but I also need to rehome 2 of those dogs.
Okay.
But then those rehoming goes into one of 4 places above your board, whether it's city, suburbs, where else in a foster home, something like that, rural, or a foster home.
Okay.
Once you rehome them, they're going to score in different ways too at the end of the game. So not only are you trying to like solve the logistics puzzle of positioning them in the right way, knowing which ones you want to rehome, which ones you want to leave on the board, so you can get better trading cards, and get other ones using the ones that you already have on there. So like if I get a pair of blue and a pair of yellow dogs, and I have to rehome 2 of them, I might get rid of a full pair of one of them to try and use 2 of the same color dogs for a different training card.
Okay.
And then I might send them both one to the suburbs and one to the city, depending on which patterns that each of those score. It's a cute little game. The art is amazing because they have an amazing artist. I don't remember who the artist was on that game.
Yeah, no, because it's the same. I think it's the same artist from Dog Park.
Yeah, great art, great components. The bag felt nice. The tokens are fine. Good pieces. You have little dog meeples, which also at the end of the game you shake up the dog meeples at the beginning. Sorry. And you put them out on certain spots, and that'll be points goes to whoever has the majorities, either in their training yard or rehomed or different homes, stuff like that. At the end of the game, it was really neat. Cool little puzzle. I liked it a lot. I can highly recommend it. Forever Home.
I have to check that one out. I did like Dog Park, so I want to see how it is. I like
very
Dog
different game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, very different game. But
I like Dog Park so much that I backed the most recent Kickstarter for the.
I still haven't played my copy of Dog Park.
Have you played Dog Park?
I've never played Dog Park.
It's really
I need
cool.
to fix it. I own it.
I like the
Never
game.
played it.
It's really neat what it is. I love the art on it.
That's right.
It's funny. You got Forever Home later, and you've already played it, and you haven't touched Dog Park.
Yeah, that was like a 15-minute game.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it too is that Dog Park has a dummy player for 2 players only.
Yes, and that I'm not okay with.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not so much a dummy player. It actually just blocks off certain spots.
Yeah, spots, yeah.
Which that's cool. That's fine.
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, it's just cool. It makes the board tight.
All right, you ready to get into our actual topic?
All right, so we're going to talk about games for non-gamers. If you're spending time with your friends or family, ones that just say, okay, you know what, Daniel? One game tonight.
Yes.
Because that's what I hear all the time. I'm hanging out with them. If they tolerate it, they're like, one game, that's all I'll do. These are going to be my go-to.
Yeah, most of these are my go-to. I also went along the lines of, like, what is something easy to teach to, like, the non-gamer aspect of it. Also, like, one of my favorite games is Little Devils. It's one of the easiest trick-taking games to teach. Because it's all as like someone's gonna set it, and then you don't want to take a trick because it's going to give you negative points. Real easy. But someone who's religious, like my grandmother, who's Catholic, playing a game with devils on it, she's not gonna want to deal with it yet. Right. So even though I love that game a lot, I think it's a pretty simple trick taking. And that's another thing I went through, is that a lot of people understand like simple card games. So I was trying to come up with stuff that would be close to that. And also stuff that, like dice games, people are familiar with how dice work and those kind of stuff. So that's what I came up with on my list, is just stuff that's real simple that I can play with a wide variety.
Yeah. So please, by all means, if you're in our chat, post which ones are your go-to games. Luminous, thank you for sharing Boop. Absolutely. I've been showing that off all weekend, and it was gangbusters. People loved it.
Also, I was trying to think of I was going to say something else. But yeah, I didn't pick any, like...
Well, how did you put these in order, actually?
I put, like, I guess the easiest ones, like, the ones I would do most with non-gamers. Like if I had to go to a Thanksgiving
Yes.
dinner with my family, which
You pick
game?
number one.
Well, my number one is the one that I would bust out all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's one of my go-tos. So, and then my number 8 is, it depends on the crowd, but I think it would go down pretty good.
Cool. Awesome. Then let's get into it. Starting with our number 8s.
Starting with you.
Starting with me. All right. My number 8 is the one that I have brought out a number of times with players. It's at first kind of intimidating, but then once they realize there's only really 3 different things you can do, that's it. And then that's the entirety of the game. It's kind of our go-to. It's gotten a lot of people into gaming while playing it, but knowing that it has its roots in Gin Rummy. That's the big thing.
I know what this is now.
Cards.
Once you said that, yeah.
Yeah,
I kind of figured this was going to be on your list. I thought it was going to be higher, but then again, it can be intimidating.
Right, exactly. And it's a bigger board game, and it is what it is. But that's Ticket to Ride. A very simple game. You're either picking up some cards based on the color. Everyone can see the colors on the boards. Go, okay, well, there's 3 spots for yellow. I need 3 yellow cards. Cool. Hey, there's some yellow cards. Well, I'll go for that. Train tickets aren't that bad. If you have any way to connect those 2 cities, you get the points. Cool.
If you don't, they're negative points at the end of the game.
Yeah, if you don't, they're negative. So on your turn, you're either getting more tickets, laying down trains, getting some train cards. That's it. That's really all the game is. And so it's simple enough that most people can play it. They have played it. And it's sold. It's one of the highest selling games of all time, just because it's so easy for non-gamers to get into it. And to just have simple, fun family time.
And not just that, because you have like a wide variety. I mean, your go-to is going to be the basic Ticket to Ride.
Yep.
But if you want to teach it to like your younger nieces or nephews or cousins, there's the My First Journey. That will teach them like set collections.
The Ghost Trains one is another kid's version.
Yeah.
And even if you want a quick fix, you have the mini versions, the city versions.
The city versions: Amsterdam, London, New York City.
Yep, exactly.
San Francisco, right?
San Francisco, and there's Berlin now.
Berlin,
so there's 5 of them.
Yep.
Which is, I need to catch up. I only have 4 of those.
I have London. That's all I have.
Yeah, I own all of them. I like them all. New York is probably still my favorite.
What's funny is I have London for my small version, and I have Europe for my big version of Ticket to Ride.
Of course. Because I do own Europe as well, but yeah, I mean, the American map is where it's at. I'm looking forward to maybe it's just been on my mind because of the Legacy version.
Yeah, I do want to try the Legacy, the one that just came out, actually.
Yeah.
A lot of people are getting their copies now.
Yeah, I'm a little jealous. I'm not gonna lie.
All right, so my number 8, this is probably it depends on the crowd that I'm going to bust this with, and it's because it involves coloring. There is a little bit with people can mess with other people, but it's a really simple flip and write, and it's called Cartographers. You're basically just drawing shapes on the map, and you don't even have to put little pretty pictures on it. You could just do shapes, and you're just going to score your points at the end of each round based on however you do. And that's why it's my number 8. It's because it's a little bit more complicated.
That's why I'm not ripping into you.
And it's a little more complicated than some of the other games on this list. But I like the fact that I have shown this to family members who are not gamers. Like, my mother-in-law enjoys this game. And she had a hard time when we were trying to teach, like, a very simple... I think it was, like, Splendor or something like that. She had a really hard time with that. But this one, she's like, oh, okay, I'll put my little trees here and stuff like that and do this. And then Calissa was nice to her when she got the monster cards. So that's the only thing is, like, and if you don't want to deal with that for, like, the negative points... You know what? House rule it. Don't put them in there when you're teaching new players. And just let them try to get their points based off the scoring cards. It's not that hard. I've shown this to family members. They've enjoyed it. I've shown it to friends who weren't really gamers. They've enjoyed it. Our mutual friend, Gamehead Geek, his wife's not that big of a gamer. She games some. She loves Cartographers because of the coloring aspect of it. It's a very calming game. And then when you don't play with the monsters, which you can... I choose to play with it all the time, but yeah, it goes down pretty well.
Cool. All right. Number 7. Excuse me.
To you again.
To me again. All right, so my number 7 is the other... Most of these are pretty small games as far as, like board games, but this is the last of the actual board games that I have on here, and I picked it even though it's a theme that normally non-gamers wouldn't be attracted to.
I honestly have one board game on my list.
This is my second one. I mean, I have more than that, but yeah, this is my second one. This is one of those go-to where like it's good for families. It's great, but even though it's fantasy themed, with the combination of it being very simple to play and cooperative, work makes it work really well. This is Castle Panic.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
I knew this was going to be on your list. I was just like, wait, cooperative?
Yeah, cooperative fantasy. And again, like I normally, when I think non-gamers, I don't think, oh, let's do something like Eldritch horror themed or like or fantasy, or let's do something that's like, oh, trading in the Mediterranean. You know, like I don't think of like the tropes. I try to actively avoid stuff like that because it's like that's really kind of things that the
gamers
love, do. Yeah. But this one just hits. This one is one of those ones where it doesn't matter how old you are, maybe like at 6 years and above, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter how apprehensive they are. Once they understand the idea, and since everyone's working towards the same goal, anyone can have fun. Because it gives those exciting moments of like, oh, there's the giant boulder coming in. Killed 3 goblins, but it took out a tower at the same time. Was it good? You know, has the wheeling and dealing because you're trading, you're trying to work together. It doesn't always require the alpha player because you have them closed off.
Yeah.
What's you thinking?
Oh no, I was just realizing I only have one co-op game on my list. I thought I would have put more.
Well, because that's not a very common thing. This is my only co-op, so don't worry. Yeah, this game goes over really well in my household with gamers and non-gamers alike. Gets everyone focusing on the same one, and like for most of my gamers that I show this to, this is their lightest game that they have in their collection. For all of my non-gamers, they still buy it. Like
I mean, it's a light game in my collection, but I think I have lighter games.
Oh sure, yeah, but the vast majority of them are heavier
gamers,
right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, this is a great one. Castle Panic, great version.
My number 7 is a game that I've mentioned a lot on this podcast. It's one of my favorite go-to games to bust out when you're playing with non-gamers, or just even with some of my gaming friends, and you just want to cool off after playing like heavy games.
Yeah.
It's a very light game. It's some simple card play and some dice rolling. It's got a little bit of a fantasy theme because you're fighting dragons. And simple abilities on certain cards if you win them or not. And this is Dragonwood.
Oh yeah, okay. I didn't even think of this one. That's such a good one.
Yeah, it's so simple. You're either drawing cards or you're playing your cards out to roll so many dice to attack a certain creature. And those are going to be your points at the end of the game.
Yep.
You don't necessarily have to attack a creature because you can attack enhancement cards that are one-time use or permanent abilities for you. The whole goal is to either go through the entire deck twice and score up your points, or if people beat both the dragons, and that's going to be the end of the game. There are some little bad cards in there that can wipe the board or do some weird shenanigans stuff, but all in all, this is a very simple game. What you're trying to do is either play all of one color to roll a certain amount of dice. You want to either roll all of one number, or you want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of one color. I think it's one color for the third. So you have you need to play a straight. You need to play all of one number or all of one color. Yep. And it depends on what you're doing. You're screaming, you're stomping, you're fighting, and then those different things. Each of the monsters will have different thresholds. So if you want to strike a bear, it'd probably be easier than stomping at it because the stomping is a higher threshold. And the dice aren't like a D6 or something like that. I think their highest number is a 3 or a 4. There's some blank sides on it too. And all you want to do
1, 2, 3, 3, 4.
And all you want to do is roll the set amount of dice depending on how many cards you played, up to 6, I think, is the maximum number you can roll because you get 6 dice.
Yep.
And then you count up your pips. If you beat the threshold, you get the monster. It's in your points. You discard your cards. If you fail, you take back the cards out of your play. You have to discard one of those cards, but you get to keep the rest of those cards in your hand.
That's right.
There's some special cards in there like the Lucky Ladybug, which allow you to draw 2 cards into your hand. You have a hand limit, I think, of 8. Very simple. I've shown this to non-gamers. I've shown this to gamers. It's always gone down well.
Cool. Great one. Number 6.
Starting with me. All right. This one is one that you just recently showed me, and I showed it to my friends when we were on the cruise. I played this one. It's a really, really good. It's actually a reprint of a very old game, This one is Buried Treasure by
Oh
Sid
yeah,
Sackson.
yeah.
It's very simple. You're just basically trying to make sets depending on the round. You're either playing or not playing cards, but you're taking cards. But if you play a certain card, you get to steal cards from other people.
The
Basically,
grabby paw.
the grabby paw. So you're trying to make your set. But maybe I shouldn't go after the one that's going to score the most. Maybe I should go for the second most because other people are going to be fighting, like you and your son when we first played it. We're fighting over the number one. I'm like, I'm just going to take the two. Oh, look, I could take this, like, third spot, and I'm going to score both of those because I have the most on those, while you guys are, scratching and clawing at each other for the lemons or something like that. It's a very, very simple card game. It's very fun to play. It's one of the easiest games to teach out of my entire list, even though there's a lot that are very, very easy to teach. It's classic for a reason. I'm sad that Restoration is not going to reprint it. Because this game deserves more love. It just kind of fell through the cracks. This is one of my favorite Sid. Mind you, I love a lot of Sid Sackson games.
Yep.
This is one of my favorites that I've played recently. I've also enjoyed Bazaar. I think that should get a reprint as well.
I agree. Yeah.
But yeah, Buried Treasure, very fun. I love the theme too, and it actually fits for something like this when you're going to Thanksgiving because there's a bunch of pies at Thanksgiving. So if you're playing Buried Treasure, it's about stealing pies. Your raccoon stealing pies. Nothing better than that.
It's a great theme. Really, really good one. Very good pick. I didn't even think of that one. The next one is a team game that goes over always really well in pretty much every group that I play it with. And it even goes well with people who walk by and watch people play it because the concept of it is very simple. It takes a little bit of learning curve just right at the beginning, but once you get past that, you're good. Because one person from each team is the clue giver. The rest of them are trying to figure out the clues. And that is...
Codenames.
Codenames, yes. 25 cards are laid out in front of everybody because every game is better with 5x5 grid. Remember that from CGE. Quote. That should be on the box. Tagline from CGE. Every game is better with 5x5 grid. Yeah. So you have 25 words. I'm trying to get my team to guess all of the words on our team before you... have your team guess all of your words.
Or someone picks an assassin, too.
Yep, or somebody picks an assassin. That extra little assassin bit on it is what sets it apart.
Yep.
Like, that's what makes it brilliant, is that there is one word that will just make you lose.
Yep.
Hands down. But out of the 24 remaining, everyone else can just kind of go, okay, it's either 8, 7, or 6 words that you're trying to figure out. Or something to that effect.
Yeah.
I forget how many. Some are innocent bystanders. You can pick one of those, your turn's over. If you pick an opponent's card, they get the point, and your turn's over. Otherwise, you can just keep guessing as long as you want. But all you have to do is say one word and a number, and that's how many cards it relates to. So I can say possum 4. And if there's 4 cards, wow, that would be a tough clue, though. But imagine if there was 4 cards that was related to the word possum, then you can guess those words, and for each one, you check to see if it's right, otherwise you stop. Really cool, great game. If you haven't played Codenames, you need to play it now.
Cool. Yeah, no, I don't disagree. It is a good game. It's not my favorite game, though.
No.
In fact, I played Decrypto over Codenames. Not like for non-gamers or something like that. But
I agree. I prefer Decrypto as well.
I would pick Codenames Pictures over Codenames, personally.
Okay. I like Duet version, or Duel.
Duel's cool.
Yeah, I like that significantly better.
Yeah.
Alright, number 5s.
Well, back to me. So, this is probably one of the easiest games on my list, but this is also the only game on my list here that has player elimination. But it's such a rambunctious game that it's fine. And in fact, our mutual friend Jim actually enjoyed this game, and he hates player elimination.
Yes, he does.
And this one is Strike the Dice Game.
Yeah. How did I not think of this one? This is so good.
It's so simple.
Such a good
because
pick.
You're just getting a set of dice depending on the number of players.
Oh man.
And there's one die in the middle, and you're just trying to chuck to make pairs. And if you pull all the dice out, you're making the next person throw all their dice in, and then they take one of the sets. So like if there's 3 dice that make a set, you can put those out. But yeah, this is just such a fun, rambunctious game. I've shown this to my non-gamer friends. They've really enjoyed it. And it's fine. I have the Harry Potter version, which gives you like special powers that my group also likes. But you can even just play it with the basic rules where you're just chucking the dice and you're making the pairs without playing the powers. It's a fun game. It's such it goes down every time I show this to people.
Yep.
I remember our mutual friend Gamehead Geek bought the original Strike, and he had to import it from Germany because it wasn't out in America yet.
Yep.
And everybody loved it then. And then when I picked up my copy, I've shown it to family, I've shown it to friends. We really do enjoy it. Like, it's a great little crowd pleaser game, and it's fun when people see other people playing it. They'll come over and see what's going on, because it's just you're laughing because you're like, yes, I took all this dice and I'm making my wife throw all her dice in there, and she was kicking our butt, so she had most of the dice, so you have to chuck everything in there.
Yep.
And it's so much fun.
Yeah, it really is. That is a great pick. I can't believe I didn't think about it. Mario Fanatic said wanted to get a copy of Codenames just for that purpose. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it works just so well. It's gangbusters every time. But Bang the Dice game, I used to own Bang the Dice game, and it was fun. It's just extra.
It's a lot of work.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not difficult. It's extra steps for other games that are a little more elegant.
Well, and it's not just that, because it's kind of like
hidden roll is hard to do with non-gamers. Too.
Yeah, and it's kind of like it's hidden roll, social deduction kind of thing, because there's one person playing the sheriff, there's others playing outlaws.
Yeah.
So it's a fine game. I do enjoy it, but I wouldn't bring it out with non-gamers, because there's too many rules, and it's a little more convoluted for what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Speaking of fun dice games, my number 5 is in a tube. You probably already know what it is.
Zombie dice?
Yep. It's in a tube, and there it is. No. Hey, it could have been Martian dice, or Dalek dice, or Out of Time.
It's the same game.
No. Martian dice, sir. I'm going to tell you this, Daniel. Martian dice and zombie dice are very different games.
I said what I said.
Leave. No, so zombie dice, but it is a go-to because it's just been around for a good time.
Yeah.
13 dice, pull 3 every turn, roll them, keep the brains, you want those. Shotgun blast to the face, you don't want those, but if you get 3 of them, you bust, and you don't score points that turn. That's about it. If they run away, you could just pull dice and roll again, but you always roll 3 on your turn. Every turn you choose to continue.
Mm-hmm.
I say this because it's combines 2 very quick things that work really well. One, have you played blackjack before? Because 90% of people have.
Mm-hmm.
Once they know, oh, blackjack, yeah, you could either choose to stop or keep going, but you might bust.
Yep.
Like, got it. Easy. Or bowling. 3 strikes, you're out. Which is not bowling. That is baseball.
About 3 strikes are good.
Aha. Even I got you, Mr. Sports Ball. Anyway. No, but 3 strikes, you're out. So, like baseball, the American pastime. Yeah, anyway. You get what I'm saying, though. If I had a hat, I'd be confused. So, why am I wearing a hat?
Yeah,
but zombie dice, it works really well. It's a dark theme because you're zombies eating brains, but really it's like there's no graphics to it. There's either brains or shotgun blasts on the dice. Yeah,
it's a fine game. I don't mind it. I just honestly I haven't thought about it all that much since you first showed it to us.
That is my go-to at the shop.
Yeah.
When people are like, I want to play a game,
but I want to be quick about it.
Yeah, it's either that or Spot It, and Spot It's not on my list.
Yeah.
So yeah, zombie dice. Number 4.
Back to me. My number 4 is my introduction to drafting game, in a sense. It's very simple. I've shown this to big parties, little parties. This plays up to, I think, 6 players, if I remember correctly. 5 or 6. This is a Phil Walker Harding game, one of the simplest Phil Walker game right games. This is Sushi Go.
Sushi Go,
yep. I didn't choose party. I just chose the basic Sushi Go because it's the simplest game to show to people. Party's really neat. What it does is because you can pick and choose the menu, is what they call it, and those are the cards you're going to be playing with that game. Great. If you already love Sushi Go, pick up Party. You'll enjoy it.
Yes.
But for me, Sushi Go is like that go-to drafting mechanism. It's a cute game, first off. It has really cute art on it. People already fall in love with that, especially if you got people who are really into sushi.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really going to enjoy this one. And I go to the point of, like, our friend Gamehead Geek. This is one of his wife's favorite games. Again, she's not a gamer, but she has no problem playing this game.
Right.
And so it's a quick game. It's simple drafting. It's one of the easiest game to teach because you're basically just saying, hey, you're trying to basically make sets. So if you got people who are used to playing rummy, hey, you want to collect these. You want to get yourself these puddings because if you have the most, you're going to get points. If you have the least, you're going to get negative points. Don't want to deal with that. But
Right.
all you're doing is trying to make sets because this is how they're going to score. Very, very simple drafting game. I've shown this to my nieces and nephews at one point. They enjoyed it. I've shown this to my other gaming group. They liked it so much, he got himself a copy of it. And so they play that with their family, like his in-laws, who are not gamers by any means. But they do enjoy playing this one because, again, it's so simple, it's easy, and it's quick. I think you can play a full game of this if everybody knows what they're doing in like 20 minutes. If you're teaching new people, it's about 30 minutes. It's not It's not too hard and for people to gronk.
No, very good. Number 4 for me. This is my go-to little card game that works really well, and I like it because there's a familiarity with it. It is not Uno, but it looks like Uno.
Okay.
It is only numbered 1 through 6, and then there's a 7 style of card called a llama.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know you don't like llama, but man, does it go over well every time I show it off. And this is one that my whole family likes. This is, regardless of who it is in my family, they all like it a lot.
Llama dice is so much better.
That's fine, because we're gamers, right? Mm-hmm. And I like both. But llama, at first, I was like, man, this is just like too simple. And I kept playing it, and the more I kept playing it, I'm like, man, I get it. Like, and I know this goes over really well with non-gamers because I brought it to my daughter's cheer competition, so I would have something to do when she's not performing and I'm just with other families. And I just happened to bust it out, and with a few other parents that were there, we just started playing llama in the middle of a stadium, you know, like in like the back of a snack stand area, like where they had like a couple of tables and some chairs.
Yeah.
And the concessions weren't open at the time. We were just sitting there because it was an all-day event. Yeah, it worked really well. We just sat there, played it a number of times. It's like, man, this is good fun. Llama is cheap package, easy to play, and easy to get people into because as soon as they go, oh, this looks like Uno. Yeah, kinda. Yeah, except you're not playing color or number. It doesn't play quite the same.
Yeah.
But you are playing based on whatever card's on the top pile there. So if it's a 1, you either play 1 or 2. If it's a 2, you play a 2 or a 3. And you just continue going, trying to get rid of your cards. If you play a llama, you loop back around. Problem solved. I like it a lot. It works so well. It goes over like gangbusters in my group. Maybe you should try it more with your family. I know you don't own it, but it might be worth trying some more.
No, I'm good.
All right. Well,
don't get me wrong. I'm turning more and more to Knizia fan. Some of these games that, especially, some of the newer ones have been really hitting pretty good. Like Sinjarundar, Millefiori, those have hit really good. But yeah, Llama. When we played it the first time, I think both me and our mutual friend Dom were just like,
no, you were upset. Yeah, genuinely.
I did not enjoy it, and we weren't even playing with the actual cards because you made it was like with the deck of cards.
Yeah.
Because you are like, I know how to do this, let's play it. I'm like, all right. Played it. Wasn't enamored. We played it again when you got the actual set. Still wasn't enamored. I was like, I'm good.
Yep.
But Don't Llama Dice is fun.
Yeah. And it has way less choice, too. That's the thing.
Yeah. It's like, so weird.
Players have way less agency in that game. Yet somehow, it's like, roll dice and then just, like, do you get a reroll? No. Is there any mitigation? No.
No. But it's fun.
You just get rid of the card.
I don't know what it is.
All the cards, yeah.
I like Don't Llama Dice more than Llama, and it's
sure.
All right, so we're going to number 3s now, huh?
Number 3s. Here we go.
All right. Back to me. This one, it's interesting because you can't play it with a bigger player count.
You can or cannot?
Can't.
Okay.
But it goes down every time I show it to new gamers or friends. You actually showed this game to me and my wife.
I'm in 2 now.
At a restaurant. We were playing it, and the waitress was asking us what we're playing, and this is Can't Stop. This is another Sid Saxon. Again, Sid Saxon has some of the simplest, but some of the best games out there. He's the original.
I've turned you into a Sid Saxon fan.
He's the original Emerson Matsuchi, where everything's just dropped to the core of things, and it's such a simple place. And so that's what the Can't Stop is. It's a very fun little push your luck game. You have to on your first turn, you have to put up one of your little cones based on what your dice rolls become. You have to make at least a pair. And you can put
Yep.
one, but you could put 2 of your cones, but you only have 3 cones. So you either need to move up the 2 cones up that you can,
Yep.
or you got to put out your 3rd cone, or you could choose to stop once you put stuff out there, and then you stay where you're at. But the first person to make it up to 3 different points on Can't Stop wins the game. It's very simple.
Yep.
Everybody I've shown this to, they love it. You've shown it to a lot of people. They thoroughly enjoy it.
Almost everybody I've shown it to is like, I like this.
I do.
There's something greatly satisfying about it.
Yeah, it's just because it's very simple. It's very fun.
Yep.
I like the version I have. I like the one you have too because it's like the actual stop sign.
Plastic,
you can plug into it. Mine is an actual stop sign, but it's a player mat. So if you're very careful, we can just turn it.
I've seen your version then.
Yeah, we could turn it over to other people just by rotating the mat. It's really neat. But yeah, Can't Stop. It just goes down very well and is very simple.
Cool. That's a very good pick. My number 3, speaking of dice games, and technically a board, so is mine. Except mine can play as many players as you happen to have dice for. Each player needs about 6 dice.
Tumbling dice?
Tumbling dice. 4 to 6 dice. I forget how many it is. I think it's 4.
4 or 5.
4 or 5, yeah. Tumbling dice. I mean, it's
Yahtzee!
Yahtzee! Yeah, no, tumbling dice works really well because, I mean, once you get past the price barrier of the board, because that's the biggest part of it.
Yeah.
And you have all the dice, all you're doing is checking out. Speaking of Eagle Griffin, I think
that's also there.
Griffin
Or you can get someone to make you a board.
Yeah, make your custom board, because you have really cool friends like that, right? Yeah, no, tumbling dice just goes over gangbusters every single time. Because all you have to do, take a die, chuck it down the board. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the rules. Whatever, at the end of the game, any dice that are still on the board,
scored depending on their layer.
Yep.
If you want to open the closet over there, my board is like leaning up against the wall. We can show the custom board I have.
Yeah, that's right. All right, go ahead and tell them about why my choice is so good.
It's a very phenomenal game, and it goes down. It's actually a very fun custom game too, because we played a giant version of this at a con. You just drop in everything, huh?
Yep, apparently.
So yeah, this is my custom board my buddy made me. And it's very simple. Normally, like if you get the Eagle Griffin version, it retracts. You can just lean it against the
You can take apart layers and whatnot.
Yeah, it's a very fun game. I love the you flick the dice or you can push the dice. You can also try to knock people's dice off the board. This way they're not scoring points. Every time you're like, all right, I get down to that bottom layer because it's times 4, but then it's like 1 because someone knocked it into a 1 and it bounced off the peg and flipped it over, and I'm like, no, it was a 4.
Yep. Yeah. No. It just goes over so well, and being able to knock each other's dice, the satisfying, you know, you can't control the numbers. You know it's random, but especially when someone makes a giant
version of it,
game.
you're throwing inflatable dice.
Yes, which we've done at a convention, and man, was that good. Foam board. It was held up with dowels. That was really questionable, but so great.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
Even our recently passed away friend Lincho, he enjoyed the mess out of that one. We were having so much fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then another reason it didn't make my list, it was on my short list.
Yeah.
It's just because the price point for one thing too.
Sure.
And then trying to lug that version of what I have to a family.
Our
thing.
version is a little prohibitive, but I like to think of it as like, you know, you go into like not pool halls, but like game rooms that like non-gamer, like not gamers, but like. People who have like a game room that has like a pool table, dart board, stuff like that. I can see this having a place in there.
Yes.
I could see that being on a little podium, having a thing of dice, you know, just rolling it down. No different than a ping pong table, you know.
No.
The same idea.
I don't disagree.
And that's why I like it.
It's a dice shuffleboard almost.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much in a weird way. So. Tumbling dice, that's my number 3.
That's a good pick. Like I said, it was on my short list, but I was thinking more of the cost of one thing, and then 2, taking that to because my family lives about 40 miles from me, so me taking that to El Paso, I'm
good. Yeah, no, probably not. Number 2.
Number 2.
All right,
back to me. My number 2 is probably the one that can hold the most, the biggest group that you can get in this one. This is a straight up party game, but every time I've showed this, and again, this is another one you showed us, and you've actually ran a big group of it at one of my bigger birthday parties. At my old place, we did a massive game of this. I think there was like 12 to 15 people at my house, and I had smoked like 25 pounds of brisket. And we played this game. And it goes down so well. Sometimes like, people don't get the reference, but when you're playing certain ways, you're like, oh, okay, I get what they were saying because you have to listen to the clues. This one's Time's Up.
Yeah. Yep.
I've played this with my family. I've taken this to like a Christmas and stuff like that, and it's gone down really well because again, the one I have has a good mix of like musicians from the 50s, 60s to modern movies. So like my nieces and nephews could get into it. It's so much fun because it plays in 3 rounds. First round, you can give as many clues as you want, but you can't skip any of the cards, and you're on a little timer. And then it switches to the next people, and so you're trying to listen to how everybody clues. Because in the second round, you're using the same deck of cards, but you can only give 1-word clues, and then you're scoring your points based on that. But you can pass if you can't get it, and everything. It's still the same amount of time. But then, if you played charades, this is where everybody loves it because when you get into the third round, you have to act out what the scene is or whatever it is. So, like if it's the Love Shack from the B-52s, you have to figure out how you're gonna play that out. And so, it is so much fun. It makes such a raucous laughter, and everybody gets into it. And like I said, it's a good mix for older family members and younger My grandma was laughing when we were playing this. She wasn't playing per se, but when we got into the charades parts and people were just doing like random stuff, it was like my brother did an MC Hammer dance. Because I think one of the clues was MC Hammer's Too Legit to Quit or something like that. It was so random, and he's like brilliant. He's fluffing up his pants and stuff like that because you know he's got those parachute pants. Yep. So it was good times.
That's brilliant. My number 2. This is our first crossover that you brought up earlier. This is Phil Walker Harding. Yeah.
Sushi Go.
Sushi Go. Yeah, this was one of my first ones I went to because at first I was like, okay. I want something like a card drafting, like because drafting is a very simple, like just take what you want. And for a moment, I almost considered Seven Wonders Architects, but I was like, really though, like that. Even though like the components are beautiful and that's like exciting for people, seeing the components on the table might be intimidating. But Sushi Go, who doesn't like food?
And not just that, because of the special abilities too in the buildings, once you do something like
once you do the special things, the different types of cards. Yeah, so I was like, even though that's like one of my go-to gateway games. It's not my go-to drafting game. Yeah. And that, it's literally, if the cards were any more complicated than they were, they're pretty much just which ones do you want to score. And they make sense based on the sushi. Yeah. You know, the tempura, you want pairs. Sashimi, you want 3 of a kind. That's simple. A lot of people understand that if they know anything about sushi. And even somebody who doesn't eat sushi, yours truly, like the theme works for me because it's crazy adorable sushi, right? You know, so I don't know. The art is brilliant. GameRight really knows what they're doing when it comes to games for non-gamers.
Oh yeah,
very much so. I think GameRight is the Nintendo of board games.
It really is
in a
because
way.
Actually a lot of GameRight games went on my short list. The only one I came up with is Sushi Go because I wanted to talk about other games, but Abandoned All Artichokes was on my short list. Because it's a very simple card shedding game, and you're just drafting cards into your hand in a sense. Basically, something comes out, you pick it up, then you play your cards, and you're just trying not to have artichokes. Right. Very great, fun little game. In fact, one of my friends, that's one of their favorite games.
Yeah. Oh, I believe it.
And so it's just Trash Pandas is another simple one. We played that on the cruise, and it went down pretty well. So yeah, it's just they hit on all levels. But I agree with you. Sushi Goes is the best one on there because it's one of the easier ones to get. Nobody likes vegetables, so they don't want to play artichokes.
Right. So even though you're abandoning them,
you
still have to use other vegetables. Come on.
Yeah.
Whereas, should be like candies and stuff.
A lot of people like sushi in a sense.
Sure.
It is really cute sushi.
Yeah, it really is. When it comes down to cute foods, I mean, Abandoned Artichokes is there. Go Nuts for Donuts is pretty high up there for me. But Sushi Go.
Another one that was on my short list. This is not actual GameRight, but it made me think of it. Was Point Salad too? That was on my short list.
Yeah.
But I think for me that one was like there's just too many steps.
Yes, there's too many steps. As simple as it is, but also immediately the term point salad is a gamer term, right? Non-gamers aren't going to get the ha-ha joke, right? They might appreciate the combinations, but they're not going to get the joke that would immediately lead a gamer in.
All right, so our number ones.
Number one, and you know what? I'm not even going to flip this because my number one you've already said.
Really?
Yep. My number one you spoke of very recently. This was the number one choice I picked because I do bring it to almost every any group that I know there's not going to be non-gamers there. This is my go-to.
Time's up.
Yep. Yep. Everything you said about it. It goes. This is the only game I've seen that my father-in-law actively chose to play, and did the Ace Ventura butt talking. Like I believe he's in his 50s or 60s right now. He did the Ace Ventura thing, and that was one of the funniest moments that we've ever had as a family. That will always be in my mind. No, Fairy Trick did not make my list, although that one is a recent new one that I've been enjoying lately. Yeah, no, it's so good. So good. Everything about Time's Up just leads to... Because everyone knows what password is. Everyone knows what charades is.
Yep.
Everyone knows what, like these guessing games. Trying to figure it out.
Like, and when you're talking like older family members, they had an old game show that they watched, Pyramid. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. You're just listing off all the words. So, like, everyone already knows how to play each level, and the way it expands on everything, it's one of the best party games, and it's one of the best family games, and it's one of the best non-gamer games.
Yeah.
Hands down. I hope that game stays in production forever.
Yeah, no, I do enjoy it. That one and my number one were like hand in hand, the first two I thought of.
Okay.
And I was like, which one am I just going to pick one?
Yeah.
For one. Because it's like 1A, 1B.
Yeah, the flip a coin, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
And so my number one is kind of along the lines of Just One, or Time's Up. I just said it. It's Just One.
I knew this would be on your list.
Yeah.
I was like,
it's a go-to. I've shown this to a lot of people.
Yes.
And it hits so well. Like, my family enjoyed it. This is another one I showed to my mother-in-law. She's enjoyed it. We actually played this game over the internet with my mother-in-law.
Yep.
And it went down pretty well. This is a game that got me through COVID. Because it's like, I can play this easily. You just need one person to put up the card over webcam.
Yep.
And if it's for me, I just have to look the other way, and then they write it down like on a whiteboard or whatever they need to do. It's basically you get cards. They have 1 through 5. If you're the one that has to guess the card number, you pick one of those numbers. And then everybody has to give you a one-word clue for that card, and they cannot come up with the same word or it basically is eliminated.
Yeah.
Very simple game, and it's a co-op, so you're just trying to make the most points as a team to be successful. It's a go-to game because it's so simple.
Yep.
And it goes down so well. No, don't get me wrong. Some of the newer ones that have come out, the wife was talking about, like Fun Facts. I'm like, yeah, but that's more of an icebreaker style game. Right. Whereas this one is like you're trying to actually work together. Whereas Fun Facts is you are working together, but you're just... It's more of a get-to-know you kind of thing.
And I considered Fun Facts, too, because I've brought that for my coworkers.
Yes.
And we've played it, and they've actively requested it again. I need to find it, because I don't know where I put it.
And then the other one was Slow Clover, which is really good, and my wife likes actually Slow Clover a lot. The only difference is that one's a little bit more gamery than Just One, because Just One is by far one of the simplest games. And it's so much fun because all of a sudden, like, if you're the person that has to guess and you have your eyes closed and just waiting for people to mention, and they're like, okay, everybody ready? All right, turn around. And then you just hear the, that groan. It's hilarious every time. It just makes you like, oh, God. And so when they're like, okay, open your eyes, and you got one clue, it's like, oh, God, no. What did you guys do?
Yeah.
And it's like, do I take this guess and, take one off the top of our score pile? Or is it a good enough clue? Or
I've seen a group of 4 play this, and they all compare their answers, and they all sat down like, good luck. And the person was like, what? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I played this at a full contingent of 7.
Yeah.
And everybody thought of something the same. Only one clue, so... 6 out of the 7 had to put down.
That's brilliant.
It's so good. I do enjoy this one. So my pick is Just One.
Awesome. So hopefully that gave you guys some good ideas as the holiday season is coming up over Thanksgiving and Christmas here in the United States, or any other holidays that you may be celebrating. As you're gathering with friends and family, please check out these games because we can't recommend them enough. These are our go-to games for anybody who we're playing with that are non-gamers, and that's why we picked it. So we want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you ever want to join us on a live podcast with our friends Illuminous, Mario Fanatics, and I forgot the other name, but there was another person who joined us in the chat. Let's see here. Malkara. Thank you all for tuning in. You can join us at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames. We tend to film on Tuesdays, but if you are not sure, and if we're not sure, follow us on there so you can get notified whenever we go on live.
As well as all video re-uploads are found on YouTube under youtube.com/@everydayboardgamespodcast. And if you like what we do, there are 3 things you can do to help us grow on the platform. Subscribe if you're not. Like the video and comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the subject. As well as all audio versions can be found on most podcast platforms under Everyday Board Games Podcast. This includes Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, Podbean, and now Apple.
And if you want to email us directly, whether it's ideas for future episodes just to say hi, or to enter an impossible future contest, hint hint, only the contiguous 90 or 48 states. Sorry. Email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com. With that being said, we want to thank you so much for tuning in. I've been your host, Daniel.
I've been your host, Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And remember, every day is a good day for board gaming.